I'm not in a rush to do it necessarily like I used to be because I can't do it on my own strength. Man, you try to go up against this fentanyl and mental health and stuff on your own, it's like, no way.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the #1 mental health and addiction podcast, the Hopeaholics. I am your girl, Natalie Eva Marie, and these are my boys.
I'm Chad.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials and wherever you get your podcasts.
Got a new episode dropping every Monday and Thursday. Please come check it out.
This episode is brought to you by the Infinity Group. You guys, if you or a loved one is suffering, please call us today. The number is right here on the screen. We are here for you 24/7. Now, let's get into the episode.
I think the 12-step program's awesome.
I do too. Saved my life.
Mine too.
Yep. And the one part that I've had trouble with is step 3, a God of your understanding. Because I had problems that were greater than I could figure out, and I needed a God greater than my understanding. And the Bible says, do not be anxious for anything, but by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. I had no peace. I was a mess. And I needed God who was greater than anything I could figure out.
Right.
And that's Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
It's beyond my understanding. He goes beyond what I can wrap my head around. Someone told me a year or so ago, this woman who's does a lot of drug prevention work in schools, Northern California. She said, as soon as you try to wrap your mind around God, you've already made him too small.
Mm-hmm.
So if my precursor for faith in Jesus is I have to understand him, it has to make sense to me. Who is God in that situation?
I agree.
Because step 2, right, is a power greater than yourself, right? Is that step 2?
You're
Yeah.
right.
So if he's greater than me, but I understand him, who's greater in that situation? That's where faith comes in.
Exactly. I was just gonna say
That's some good
faith.
shit right there. That's
Really good.
I mean, it's good. It's really good. Yeah, it's really
Well,
good.
I expect nothing less from somebody
Hang on,
that went
hang
to
on,
Bible
hang on,
college,
wait.
right?
Dominic, welcome to the Hopeaholics podcast.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm excited because I feel like we have so much to talk about, and I don't even know really where to begin.
Well, we were on his Instagram
Yeah.
yesterday,
And
and
I was
then
like-
all of a sudden you started talking, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember looking through his Instagram. You graduated from
Life Bible College.
Life Bible.
but that's what I want.
Boise, Idaho.
But before I want to go into how that even,
Yeah,
because you grew up in Orange County,
I did. Mission
And
Viejo.
okay?
Yeah.
We're in your home spot,
Where'd
like
you
hometown.
go to? Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Capo Valley.
Oh, you went to Capo.
Yeah. Why are you laughing?
No, I just.
Where'd you go to Mission?
No. No, my ex-wife went to Capo. I went to Redlands High School. I'm inland.
Okay.
I'm an inland guy.
Inland. But I want to
I'm
know.
Canadian.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome to America, Shane.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Brothers, sisters, siblings.
Little sister, yeah. Let's
How-
agree right now because she's driving through New Mexico or Arizona right now with a check engine light coming back home from South Carolina.
Check in.
So I agree that she's getting home safely.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, I agree
And,
with that.
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I've driven many times with my check engine
You
light
just
on.
did it the other day.
I did.
All the way to where did you go?
I went all
Palm
the way
Springs.
to Palm Springs and to Arizona.
Oh yeah, and Arizona with the check engine light on.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I asked permission.
You both said wow.
Well, I asked permission from
From me,
people.
like who's like not
Yeah.
a mechanic.
That light to me is just a
So
suggestion.
what's crazy
It says
is
check
that
engine
the
Yeah,
two
check-
the,
when you get around.
the two most like I feel pretty damn like logical and are not going to steer me wrong are my husband and then Chad. So I asked the two individuals, am I going to be good on this car ride that's ahead of me? And both of them were like, yeah, you're fine.
Did
So-
I say that? I feel like my answer would have been more along the lines of most likely you'll be okay.
No, I
Was
think
it?
no,
You were
said-
in the room,
no,
Emily. What did I
I'm
say?
pretty sure he said, no, you're good.
Shit.
But I was on top of it because remember I was going to take it in the week before, but they were so busy and they couldn't take me.
I mean, here was my philosophy of her. Sorry, and I get off the check engine light, but it was like she just had the oil changed.
I did.
Not that long ago, and the check engine light came on. It's been a couple months, so I was like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was recent. It wasn't like months and months and months where
You
I'm
made
just
it.
riding around, and I made it. I'm here, so she's good,
And the car's already been
Yeah.
checked. So
and all was well.
What was it?
It's a Toyota, so that's why I got the okay.
I mean, you can run those things without
Yeah.
oil in them
Yeah.
for a while.
pretty much.
Canola oil. And I think it would run.
Okay, getting back to you. So you grew up out here, and then moved to Los Angeles.
So grew up out here. Awesome place to grow up.
Yeah.
And because you asked earlier, I wanted to mention I did grow up heavily exposed to AA.
I figured that considering you know
Through
the 12
family.
steps.
Yeah. And like I said, when I say I love
Mm-hmm.
the 12-step program, I've seen it work wonders in people's lives who I'm very close to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I have so much love for, I mean, I grew up in those meetings, like grandmas bringing me nutty
okay.
bars
Yeah.
to the
You're the
meetings
kid
because
that I
they knew
see,
I'd
but,
be there, and they'd come around and I'd say, "Hi, I'm Dominic and I'm a chocoholic." I was like 30 pounds overweight, and that was, everyone laughed, and that was
Oh
my
my
thing.
gosh, how cute.
And so we were one of few kids hanging out there. And so I love the program. I love people who are in recovery. I pray for people in recovery to just find the freedom that I found,
Sure.
you know, and that's, and I wasn't an alcoholic. I wasn't a drug addict, I would say, but I had addictions that came on later in life due to mental health struggles that I dealt with as a result of some things that we went through growing up that were really tough. And so that started in high school while I was at Capo here. Really bad anxiety and depression. Maybe went to school like 3/4 of the year. And even when I did, oftentimes I just sit in the counselor's office and I couldn't figure out, like, why can I not even sit in a classroom without panicking, you know? I don't want to live in my body anymore. This is terrifying, you know? And was very like lightly exposed to, you know, everyone was vaping at the time, so I'm just sucking on a nicotine pen, just
Everyone's still vaping.
you know, trying to calm my nerves, and you know, marijuana a little bit, which mostly made me just panic even worse a lot of times.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. That was the one drug that I'm like, no, not for me.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay, so you're young. Okay.
So this was over 10 years ago, really struggling with depression, anxiety, and really the only things that kept me grounded was my faith in Jesus, which was established in my middle school years. Like best years of my whole childhood I can remember is going to youth camps, going to church, going to Bible studies, and feeling like, wow, okay, everything's all right. You know, God has a plan for me. He has a purpose for me. He loves me. There's some tough things going on, but I know he's got me, you know, and I know I can trust him. And so that trust started to fade away once I got into high school and got tempted by girls and popularity and sports, and just and we stopped going to church in high school. I think that was one of the biggest mistakes we made, because that's how I kind of saw myself enter into a lot of the issues that I had.
Did you play sports in high school?
I did. I played football. I grew up playing basketball my whole life, played football and volleyball in high school, and had a great time. I was in a film program. That's how I started getting into making the films. I had passions. I had good friends. I'm like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
You know, there was tough stuff at home sometimes, but I'm like, dude, people have it way worse than me, and they're happy. What's going on here? You know, and I was just chasing the feeling of peace and satisfaction.
Whatever that is inside,
And I'm right there with this guy, the stomach aches I had. I'll tell you something. When I was 8, 9, 10, 7 to 12, 7 through 13, we lived across from the school. My mom would have to walk me to school. She'd sit in the back of the class. I would sit in the row right in front of her. I'd get attentive. She'd leave. I'd look back. She'd be gone. I'd run home. The principal would call and say, your son's on his way home. Swear to God, true story. Every single day growing up, that was my life. The anxiety, the pain was unbelievable.
Yeah,
man. I totally relate with this guy. Completely. It was nuts. First time anyone ever said that anxiety about school, sitting in the counselor's office again. First time I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thank God for my guidance counselor and the counselor there who just let me sit in her office while she did her admissions, you know, work and stuff. And I'm just hanging. Her name was Erica Crowell. I hope maybe she'll see this through. You know, like God bless that woman, because I just spent my school life basically with her a lot, and I'd go to class. I'd kind of muster up some courage to go to class. And I go to class, and I remember, oh gosh, dude, kids are tough, man.
Yeah.
This is why kids are reaching out for pills silently on Snapchat to kind of get into it. Is because I'd sit in class, and someone would look over and not trying to necessarily, torment me or whatever, but look over and be like, someone said, like, why do you look like you want to kill yourself? Or something like, depression like that. Or, why do you look so depressed all the time? And I just lose it right back to the counselor's office, bro. Tons panic. Now everyone's looking at me,
I know.
And it's that silent suffering. And I thank God I didn't have, didn't see ads for pills getting dropped off to my house during that time. I missed it by a few years. But I was put on Prozac and Zoloft. It made me feel like a zombie. I was numb, so I quit it cold turkey and had tingling pains all throughout my body. And I'm not, hey man, look, this is my experience. I'm not here to bash medications or things people need to help get through a certain process. That's just that's how it worked for me. I don't believe that's what ultimately is the solution, of course. But I cut that stuff. But I carried Xanax in around a few Xanax as like a fire extinguisher for panic attacks. Yeah. And I remember a handful of times asking friends for a Xanax pill and verifying, like, this is legit, right? This is and at the time we didn't even have the fake Xanax pills with fentanyl that I knew of.
Right.
But it could have been. And that was through high school, all throughout college, handful of times I can point to and go, yep, I was dealing with this silently, didn't want anyone to know.
Sure.
On Instagram, life's all cool. I'm the guy.
Yep.
And then, boom, panic attack in my room. Same thing. And that's how a lot of these kids are now dying because they're not getting Xanax like I thankfully did. They're getting fentanyl.
It's interesting that you didn't trickle down into, because kind of how you're speaking is kind of very alcoholic addict tendencies, and you didn't, what stirred you, because you grew up in the rooms, that you didn't want to, I guess, even remotely play with that option?
To this day, I've never tried alcohol.
Wow.
I had one high school girlfriend who tricked me into like sipping what I thought was lemonade. And I was like, it tasted off to me. And I just, that's the only time alcohol has hit my tongue in my life, because I grew up, like you said, in those rooms. And I just heard story after story of people's lives who were, they were suffering, they were hurting, or they destroyed their marriages or whatever because of alcohol. And I'm like, gosh, that was like the worst drug, almost in the world to me. It seemed like was alcohol because it was embedded in my brain. But that's what got me so hooked on prevention education, because I realized, wow, I just grew up hearing everyone's testimonies about how terrible it was and how much better their life is now, having overcome that addiction. I need to let young people know so they never even start. And it was just so simple to me. Like, I was educated, so I didn't do it. If they're educated strongly enough, most of them will make the same decision to not mess around with these things.
I want to grow up to be like this guy.
It's too late, Shane.
I know. Talk about a leader.
It's never too late. It's never too late. All we need to do is say that prayer.
Don't derail it. Getting back to him because we're on a little. He's mad. I know, we're on a little.
He's mad.
Anytime you want to do it, we'll do it.
Yeah. We can stop anytime, Shane.
So then you graduate high school and you go to college. Where do you go to college?
So I went to Penn State, which was a huge party school.
Yep.
And really, I went because, like I said, there was tough stuff we went through in my family growing up. And I just wanted to see something else. So I picked the farthest school I got into. And really, it was the best school, I thought. That, education-wise, I wanted to go into business. And it was a great business school. And I had one friend from high school who got in as well. And he visited and he called me. We were both looking at different colleges that we'd got into and kind of filling each other in. He's like, dude, this is the one. We got to go here. So I was like, all right, we'll go there. I'll get out for a while, see something new. and then I got out there and I was like, this is everything that I don't do. Yeah. Drinking, partying, all this stuff. except for trying to get a bunch of girls to like me constantly.
Right.
That was my thing in college. And then I got hooked up in like music scene, and I like started rapping and stuff in college.
He's a rapper
That was
too.
my thing to do with parties. No, man, it was. I had to find something. Like I got to do something. I
Yeah.
need a social life. So like I want to go to parties, but I don't drink. I'd go to frat houses. Frat guys would be like, "Bro, aren't you drinking?" And I'd be like, "Man, I actually don't drink. I've never had alcohol in my life." And he's like, "Wow, I wish I could be like you." And I'm like, "You can. You don't have to do this."
Yeah.
But it was the culture. So I'm like, well, I want to find a way to get in socially. So I was like, oh, if I bring the entertainment
Sure.
to the party,
Smart. That's
I don't have
smart.
to drink, and I'm everyone's
Yeah.
friend. And the problem was the entertainment part wasn't
Right.
so entertaining.
It wasn't
but-
too lit.
Yeah, but it was an okay time and made some good friends. So 2 years into Penn State, still, by the way, dealing with, I'm taking Xanax on a lot of flights home because it's like layover back to here. So I'm taking Xanax to chill. It could have been, that whole time, could have been a fake pill. Could have been, And it wasn't often. I wasn't addicted to Xanax, but I relied on it at certain times. And I don't anymore, by the way. Completely free of that for 5 or so years now.
Amen.
No, I don't want to exaggerate. 4 years, to be specific.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was my thing, man. I go out to college, try to fit in, get anxious, try to get a girl to like me, go to class, wonder what I'm doing there for a couple of years, and then.
Were you on antidepressants then as well?
No, that was very short-lived in high school for a couple months. So it was, I forget what was first. I think it was Prozac first, Zoloft second. How it was for me was one gave me nightmares, I think Prozac, then Zoloft made me feel like a zombie. I went to a Bible study, again, was getting fed on and off good word. This is what kept me grounded the whole time from really going off the rails, I think, is I know. Zoloft made me feel like a zombie. Went to a Bible study, leaving with my friends. It was raining. We're driving on the street, hydroplane. Dodge like 5 cars, almost get hit head on. Everyone in the car is screaming, crying. And we finally pull over, and I'm just there like, are we going to keep driving or what?
Wow.
Like, no, I had no feeling, no emotion whatsoever. I'm like, well, I wasn't anxious, but I also wasn't anything, and I don't want to live feeling nothing,
Wow,
so what do I do
scary.
here? And I was, able to analyze that in my mind and be like, no, this is not what's going to fix this issue that I've been having.
Sure.
And so I continued to search for it for years and years throughout college. There was girls or trying to find my purpose or start a business. I started a clothing company. I'm giving you kind of the spark notes here, but moved home from college early to finish it online so I could start a clothing brand, and I wanted to be a business. And then that led me moving up to LA. And I thought purpose would do it, success would do it, girls would do it, status would do it, money would do it, all these things, right? And it's like, they're addictions of their own.
Yeah.
Same kind of behavior like you're saying. And I just, I would go and go and go until I get to the bottom of that barrel, and I'd be like, gosh, I'm still empty, And life on the outside was looking pretty good to all my friends and stuff at one point when I was living in LA, and we can get into that.
Yeah.
But it was a constant search for something that I always had in Christ when I was that little boy at the youth camp with my hands raised and tears running down my face.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten that for many years.
So you finished college back home. You finished your last year online?
So I did 2 years at Penn State. I decided I wanted to go, start a business that I was not really taking much ground in the college scene. I didn't want to go to job fairs. I didn't want to do that. I'm like, I knew I wanted to do my own thing. So moved back home, started my business, and then in that process moved up to LA and was doing school online. So I did graduate from Penn State business.
Okay.
Finished online my degree.
Amazing. And so then you're in Los Angeles and you're doing your clothing thing.
Yeah.
And then what happens?
So I got hooked up with a jewelry company called the Gold Gods out there. Really, really big jewelry company. They're in all Zoomies and stuff. And I like telling this story because if young people listen, it's like kind of like a how to hustle and do what you love kind of thing. Yeah. So I moved home, starting a clothing company, living in my mom's house again, and I was like, okay, I need some sort of income because it's going to take a while to generate any income doing my own thing. And so when I was at Penn State, I would shoot photos for this jewelry company called the Gold Gods. They'd send me chains and I'd like shoot pictures on my college roommate, and we're all like trying to look all cool with the gold chains on and stuff. And as soon as I moved home, it was a total God thing, I believe. I mean, it's how I met my wife, ultimately. I came home in my mom's bedroom and found out, like, within the month or two that I moved home from college, they were opening a store on Fairfax in Los Angeles. And so I saw the day of that they were having their grand opening with, like, this big rap producer and stuff on Fairfax, which was, hour 20 or so from Mission Viejo. And I'm like, this is my shot, man. Like, I need some lead here to get into this scene. Yeah. And so I was driving a Mustang I bought because I bought a new Mustang. I was barely making my $400 car payment. And I drove that thing up all cool to LA and was like, hey, do you guys want a video, done for your grand opening event today? And they're like, we already have a videographer and photographer, but if you want to come up, I guess you can bring your camera. So I get up there, walking through the crowd, trying to find the owner of the company, and I get in. He's like, all right, man, do your thing, I guess. And he lets me in this event. And so I'm all of a sudden dapping up Metro Boomin, who's like this rap producer, and like guy I listened to in high school and all that stuff. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck? It was like all of a sudden this big exposure to this LA scene. And I shot a video, man. I mean, Dead on Arrival's better, the film. But I shot a video for him, and I drove home, edited that video till like 4 a.m, sent it to them so it would be the first thing they see. Smart. And it was like, boom, you're our video guy now. And so they ended up moving me up to LA. I was working with them. Amazing. And stuff really took off from the material, kind of world success standpoint from them. I was working with rappers and I was able to do my clothing thing on the side and meet all these celebrities and things. Like I said, thought that was going to be my answer, and so once I got up to LA, I just got scraped to the bottom of those barrels and was like super empty after a few years.
What's crazy is that you were able to have the balls to go and be a little hustler, to drive out to LA, to go and try and talk to whoever you needed to talk to shoot the video. And did you have to take a Xanax before you did that? No. That was, again, it was very few and far between. I don't think I don't know. That's why I say it's such a God thing, because it's like I had such faith to go up there and like, I'm going to do this. I think you had like this, you had a vision and a goal of why. Like why you're doing this, and it was feeding the ultimate dream, and that dream is your clothing line, to potentially work with this crew so that you can potentially, hopefully, maybe get either them in some of your clothing or the clothing in the stores. So it almost is like it mitigates any type of anxiety to have you stop, because it's like, no, I need to do this if I want to grow my business.
Yeah. And I haven't really told this story much often. I think it's really important here because, I mean, I look around the room, I'm like, you guys have dope style and all this stuff. And it's like, I'm not some Christian boy who grew up in church. Right. I mean, I am a Christian, but I'm not wasn't some sheltered kid who just never touched a drug. Yeah. Dude, I was around all this stuff. I saw people snorting coke in the car with me in LA. I saw, celebrities behind the curtains of these lifestyles. And I was like, oh my gosh, And I was very rapidly exposed to all these things. And so people, think, oh, well, if you had just gotten a taste of that, like, you would have, that would have been it for you. You didn't really get to live like the good life and see success. No, I saw all that stuff, bro. And I thought it was.
You were the smart one.
I mean,
I look at it.
I thought it was. I was falling for it, for a few years. And again, I'm very thankful for the opportunities I got to have with the company. Now I've gotten to network with a lot of great people, but I got that. I got to live that life, kind of, and I'm here to tell, especially young people, it's not it. It's not it, totally. It's going to get you in trouble, because I was at Halloween Diddy's Halloween party one year and accidentally smoked something. It was not what I thought it was, you know, and I'm laying on a couch cushion just like tripping out, calling my mom, crying because I'm like, Mom,
this wasn't weed.
yeah,
This
I'm like,
wasn't
dude,
weed.
this is not to be played with, you know. And these rap songs and stuff I was listening to, talking about Papa Perk and, you know, this and that and all the sexual stuff. I was trying to act like I could live all that stuff.
You know,
and that's dangerous to play with.
You know what's funny about all the music, like the music, the gangster rap that I grew up with, because you know, gangster rap came out in my, I'm that age. Like, I am like Beastie Boys to what Run DMC to NWA to Snoop or to Dr. Dre to Snoop Dogg. Too Short.
Yep.
I mean, Too Short was a pimp, but the rest of it was like,
I got to meet him.
They were always rapping about like, selling drugs and doing gangster stuff. I'm gonna say stuff today because he's Christian.
But they also
I'm
were.
Christian too.
But that was also they were rapping about their. I feel like it's very different.
Now
they did what they
that was their life.
They did it.
Tupac,
now
all them, they were living it. Biggie.
Yeah,
and then
now I think there's a song. I didn't even know it was called Fetty until that kid came on and called it Fetty. It's a fentanyl, you know.
Yeah.
We exist because I lost my son-in-law to fentanyl on 9/11 of 2022.
Yeah,
that's why the Hopeaholics podcast exists, and you know we're real big advocates for you know awareness and you know just being out there and being of service and educating people that like you can't even play anymore. Like you can't play anymore. Every drug has fentanyl in it at some point or another, and all it takes is one time.
Especially
and you're gone.
Yeah.
But what happens with your mind? Breaking the stigma.
And also too, like it's not like I love what you're saying to the younger generation. Like it's not it. Like it's not like you think you have this fallacy and this unrealistic movie in your brain, thinking that it's this like glamorous, amazing life that you're missing out on or that you want to be a part of. But once you're in it, it's hell.
It's empty.
It's
it's
empty.
lonely.
It's not. What's not?
I mean,
fill
look at what Diddy's going through right now. Would you want to be P Diddy right now? I wouldn't.
Quite frankly, I wouldn't want to be any of the people that I met.
I believe
it was just such a like a letdown every time.
Oh, for sure.
You know, because you like work hard and you know, you get the opportunity and then you brush shoulders with them and then you see it. I mean, dude, I was 2018 New Year's Eve. I was two people standing behind Drake. I have a photo, you know, it's on my Instagram. Like, and I'm like, how did I get here and why am I here? You know, I'm not trying to make everything go back to the Bible here, but the Bible talks about how your gifts will put you before great men. So like I had this film gift. I'm sure we're going to talk about the film.
Yeah, of course.
So I know God gave me this gift that has put me before, you know, people who are famous or popular or whatever. But I'd get in the room and I'd be like, am I here just to like take a picture and it looks cool? Like why was I given this, you know? And then to go home and just feel like empty, like no. So I'm still trying to navigate, like ask God, like why was I in LA? Why was I in front of all these people? And anyway, we'll see what happens. But like I got to see behind the curtain of all these people's lives, and I was like, nope, don't want this. Nope, don't want this. And it's very important for me because I grew up pretty brainwashed by all the stuff I was watching and listening to, and these kids are too. You know, even if these rappers are doing the drugs they're talking about, which like Lil Baby, for example, really popular rapper, has admitted, I don't even do the drugs that I rap in my song. You know, I read an article about that, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing there?
Then why are you rapping about it?
And even if you are doing those drugs and you just don't want to admit it, okay, you probably have the $100,000 you need to spend, you know, to somehow get pharmaceutical grade this and that, and you have people checking it out, right? Juice WRLD, another great example.
Totally.
I was in Dubai when Juice WRLD died on the plane, because he swallowed all those pills.
Yeah.
You know, all these rappers we've seen, it's like, okay, if you maybe have the means to get the right stuff, but some of them are still dying. What do you think these kids, they don't have the money you have and connections you have. They're not verifying these drugs that you're putting in the songs. Like I gotta be careful what I say, but it's like you are enabling these murders to take place by leading these kids to, you know, like the repetition and meditation of pop a perk, pop a perk, pop a perk. And then you go through something tough and you're like, oh man, I'll just pop a perk. You know, like I heard that song. It's in your mind. It's in your subconscious. You're leading young people to make these very, very harmful decisions that, quite honestly, I think they have some responsibility for. And when I say they, not even necessarily the artists. A lot of the labels are getting them to rap about
they're the ones that are making all the money, and they're the ones that are able to put on these artists, which is why I would sometimes go into like certain rabbit holes of like, you know, who's pulling the puppet strings, right?
Didn't Eminem do a song with Juice WRLD?
He just did one there that actually talks about doing all the pills, but then he's basically trying to say, kind of counter.
Yeah, but Juice WRLD was talking about doing all the
the
drugs, and then Eminem's sober. Like, how does that? I don't understand. I can't.
The latest song, because I just listened to it because my brother actually sent it to me. This one is interesting because it's Eminem's part is basically trying to like rebuttal, because obviously he's sober, right? It's called Lace It with Juice WRLD and Benny Blanco.
But this is not recent, right?
I don't believe it's
no. Juice WRLD passed away 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
no, it was. It's been out.
It's been at least, I think, like 4 maybe or 3.
Yeah,
4 years.
Yeah, I remember it was December 6th or 7th or something like that.
I mean, like all my kids loved Little Peeps,
right?
You know, and look at what happened to him,
right?
And he was good though. He was good.
Dude, these are talented, God-gifted people.
Yeah, and they're hurting. You know why they're hurting? Because they're empty inside.
Yeah.
You know, you I've been empty like that. I've hurt that bad where I just didn't care if I didn't want to actually like kill myself because I'm too much of a wuss to kill myself. And I always, whenever I was that low, I would think about the pain that it would cause the people that I love.
Yeah.
Same.
And I couldn't kill myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wanted to die. I didn't want to live.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You know, and like the solution, and you can say whatever you want on our podcast, because like I'm you know, I own treatment centers, and I have to deal with every single day are people calling the insurance companies, and then they're saying, okay, well, what meds are they on? Mm-hmm. What antidepressants are you giving them? What MAT? Why aren't they taking the MAT? Well, I'm like, you know what? You could do all the science in the world on our brain, but an addict, people in pain. The one thing that we're missing, but addiction, people with addiction problems, with mental health issues, man, we're God's chosen people, and what the part that is missing is God. Mm-hmm. It's not a pill, you know. It's it's not all these other things. It's stop stuffing, you know, all this other crap. Women,
shopping,
whatever
drugs,
it is,
shopping, food. Stop
gambling,
shoving that into a God-sized hole, because it's never going to fill it correctly. And once you find God. And not to say that any of us are perfect when we live. We all sometimes, you know, make mistakes, but we veer back on the road, and God forgives every single day. Mm-hmm. Not just once a year.
Why'd you look at him?
I just like fucking with him. They have
once a year
they have that
our sins to God, and he closes the book for them.
I don't know about it.
Yom Kippur or one of those Rosh Hashanah.
Dude, I'm saying Jewish people, God's chosen people,
yeah,
God's elect. But in Bible college, this man came who's a Messianic Jew.
Yeah,
you can be one too.
Yeah.
What made you want to go to Bible college? How old were you when you decided to make that? And by the way, I think that what you've experienced and the journey that you've gone through, and how you're able to now storytell in the video that I have watched of yours, which is all about, you know, fentanyl, which is why this podcast was even created, was absolutely excellent. Like, that's your gift, and I feel that you're being able to do that, especially in such a time where not many, hopefully now more so, but for a while people were just not even talking about fentanyl or anything like that, where they had no idea what's going on, that it's great that you're able to then go ahead and kind of go from the videos and movies and stuff that you were thinking that you wanted to do, and then all of a sudden now there's so much meaning and purpose behind the project that I watched.
Yeah. Yes. And I made that out in Idaho, actually, which was interesting. So kind of back to wrap up the reason I'm glad we talked about all that stuff, because as parents or youth who watch this, man, like shine a light on, ask your kids, like, hey, what are you listening to? What are you watching? My parents, and I'm writing actually a book right now. It's called Guard Your Heart. And it's kind of this whole testimony.
Sure.
And it's for youth about, hey, you need to watch what you consume and listen to, because it was years of pornography, music, all the stuff that was filling my brain with that no one knew, and was causing me to silently become like an addict, to these things and suffer because of these things, and have heartbreak and pain because of these things that no one knew I had, because you don't want to tell anyone you're doing that stuff, and it's bad. That I probably could have shaken a lot earlier if someone had kind of shook me and told me, hey, you need to like watch what's going into yourself. Because I'd always try to externalize my pain, which again is kind of addict kind of behavior as well. Who's responsible for how I'm feeling right now? Well, honestly, it was me. A lot of times, because of what I was pouring into my mind and my soul, I was disturbing myself, And so when that actually started to change, be it when I started actually going back to church, getting around the right people, is when these things started to fall off again. It was 2017. I had the worst panic attack I can remember in my life. I had a 3-story loft I was living in Sherman Oaks, right over the hill.
Doing it.
Right?
Doing it.
Had the Mustang, had some new wheels on it,
Living.
I didn't have the chrome heart shades, but I had, I had the shoes, the sneakers and stuff, right? And I was, like you said, empty. Mm-hmm. Went to go play basketball, get ice cream with some friends from high school. They came up, and out of nowhere, like we went back to my house, and just my heart started racing. I'm like, panic just fell over me, and I'm like, there's nothing going wrong. Like, why is this happening? This is when I really felt powerless over anxiety, because I went into a full-blown hour-plus long panic attack, and I had no explanation, no external.
Sure.
Right? So it was the first time where I'm like, this is happening inside of me, and nothing caused it that I can think of, because life's good, And so we get out of that, and I'm reflecting that night after, the panic subsides, and I'm like, man, I think there's something in me that needs to change, because now like I said, I was scared to live in my own body. Like there's something in me that's the issue here. It's not, I can't blame it on anyone anymore. Nothing's really wrong necessarily. And so I prayed, and I was like, God, just lead me. I have a voice recording of me like saying, God, lead me wherever you go. I'll follow you. Just lead me. I don't know what to do. Just please lead me out of this, because I tried to figure this out my own way and achieve and network and succeed and date my way into happiness. And I couldn't do it. God, please just lead me. And that sparked that year, that night. God's like, very clearly, I just was like, I need to go back to church. So I called my grandparents, who were the only people I knew at the time who were really kind of walking with God, I would say in a Christian way. And I called them. I said, hey, will you please come to church with me? I didn't tell them everything I was dealing with. I didn't want to burden them with, I really need to go to church. And so they drove from Laverne, California, way into LA, and they're in their 70s at this time. And it's like, I love them so much. They drove to this tiny little elementary school church, over an hour away, to come see me and just come to church with me. And I walked into that room, and it was a small room, and they had the rows of the chairs, right? And so I'm standing in the back row, and they're doing the worship music like we were singing at the beginning, and they're singing the songs, and it felt like there was just this like endless sea of chairs between me and the people at the front who had that freedom and joy like I used to have when I was in middle school. And I felt emotionally such a separation from where I had once been, which was up there, like good with God, relationship with God, love Jesus, to now I'm broken. I've just had the worst panic attack. I've got all these material things and addictions and feelings that I'm addicted to, and chains on me, literally weird. I worked for a jewelry company. I had chains on,
Totally crazy.
gold chains and spiritual chains, that were on me. And I'm standing in the back row hard, just like standing like all, tough, whatever. I'm cool and just hurting inside. And there was just one moment just in praise and worship that I just broke. And for the first time I can remember, I really just poured out and cried and surrendered myself to God again. And I knew that he had answered my prayer the night before. Just lead me, what to do, where do I go? And I was in that church and I cried and I kind of rededicated my life to him. And slowly but surely over the next couple of years, he started giving me checkpoints of places I would go, people I would meet who would get me out to eventually, one, meeting my wife, who was a huge part of this, and moving us to Idaho in 2020, which is where we were married and found the church we're at now and the Bible college that we're at. But man, it took a long time to shake the things that I was dealing with in LA. It was still the next couple of years. I was go to church on Sunday, terrible Christian. Go to church on Sunday. There's weeks I went to a strip club and church in the same week. To be very transparent about this stuff. I'm like, what is this guy doing? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just like, dude, God was shedding these things off. But the whole time I'm speaking, God, you're leading me. I'm going the right way. I'm on the right path, And he'll get you there. You got to trust him and give him that place to be God in your life, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't remember what your question was, but I'm kind of sharing my whole testimony. How'd you move out to Idaho, go to Bible college was your question. So it took a couple years to actually get there. Thankfully, I stayed in LA long enough to meet my wife, which is a whole other miraculous testimony of how we met was amazing. But
go into it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a love story. This is more for the women audience.
No, I love
we're
like 85%.
Our Instagram
I love
is 85%.
I love
All right, let's tell a love story. Am I okay? Are we okay on time?
Yes.
I know we have to talk about the film. We're going to talk about fentanyl.
We'll talk about the
we
film.
are good. You're fantastic, and I love it. I'm all about this, especially because I feel like God put me and my husband together. So I'm all about these types of serendipitous stories.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I'm going back to church at this time. It just started. And I'm still doing my video thing. Got some cool clients and stuff. I'm shooting a Floyd Mayweather event. I worked with a company called Platinum Motorsports.
Okay,
they commission cars for Kardashians.
I know exactly who they are. Yeah.
So, good people that I remember. So, what?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. They're cool, man. They're cool. They got cars and all this stuff. They would let me come in and shoot and film stuff. So anyway, I'm filming this event, Floyd Mayweather, and the red carpet. I'm filming all the people coming in, and I see off to my left, there's this beautiful young woman, the hottest girl I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking over, and my shot's like I'm probably shooting the sky at this point. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm filming, and I'm looking over, and she's on her phone over there like this, like looking around, like I'm like, oh, is she okay? But I can't really, I'm working, so I can't like go talk to her necessarily. So I'm just kind of keeping my eye on her, make sure she's good. I had one breakaway moment. Car was pulling up. Weird how you meet people in LA. I was friends with a guy who knew Neo.
Okay.
You know Neo? Remember Neo?
Yeah.
Anyway, he pulls up in a car. This is my buddy. Pull up, car, Neo, my friend, and some other dude. Okay, I'm walking up to the car to greet my friend. This beautiful girl that I saw is all of a sudden walking around to the other side of the car to greet this African-American male of taller stature than myself.
Okay.
And I'm just like, darn it. There go my chances.
Yeah.
And she like kind of greets him and stuff. And I'm like still looking like, what is going on? Like now I'm hanging out with her. Okay. So we spend like 4 to 6 hours around each other. But again, I'm kind of filming and stuff. Yeah. And she's talking to this guy. So I'm like, I don't really get a chance to more than introduce myself. Right. So we go through the whole night. I don't see him kiss her. They're not hugging. They're not dancing with each other or anything.
So you don't really know.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, what's the deal here? Like, is there a chance? And so I just totally blew it. I left with my friend, and I like thought, oh, I'll just ask my friend like who she is on the way out. I don't want to be weird. So we leave after this whole night, and I'm like, dude, you gotta hook me up with that girl. Like, is she single? He's like, bro, I have no idea who that is. And I go, that's not okay. Like, that's not what's happening here. Yeah. And so I leave and I'm kicking myself. I'm like, I got to see her again. Like, what's, I thought I missed my chance. Well, it turns out that was her first night in Los Angeles. My wife is from Newark, New Jersey. She got scouted on the subway train when she was 16 to do fashion modeling, so she would travel to do fashion modeling. So this is her first night in LA. This guy she met at this event happened to be the only guy she knew in LA back from New York, and he was out here. How he knew my friend, I have no idea. This is not even the craziest part of the story. I'm evaluating all this going, okay, well, I don't know, I'm going to see her again. Like, God, please do something. Within a few days, I don't remember how many, this is why I say that jewelry company helped me meet my wife. This influencer girl that we worked with for the Gold Gods Jewelry Company, she was married. We're hanging out, and she's talking to me, and she's like, Dom, we got to set you up with someone. I know this girl. She's so amazing. She's new to LA. This is they love these stories. I love it. So she's new to LA. You guys would, she says very plainly, you would absolutely love each other. Like, you would be in love with each other, which is kind of weird. You know what I mean? When you're
of course.
Like, hey, you guys should go out sometime.
Yeah.
No, she's like, you would love each other. She's perfect for you. And I'm like, okay, like, who is she? And this has nothing to do with the event I was at. 5 million people in LA. Has nothing to do.
Total separate, like.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, who is she? She shows me her Instagram, and I lose my mind.
Yeah. Did you die? Did you faint? Have an out-of-body experience?
I'm just like, we gotta call her right now. She's gonna flip, and I'm all doing my hair in the mirror really quick, and I'm like, she's FaceTiming her.
Oh my gosh.
Her name's Samara. She calls Samara on FaceTime. She called her Samara, whatever. Dominic.
Yeah.
She goes, Samara, you'll never guess who I'm with. And she's like, oh my gosh, who? She turns the phone over to me, and I'm in the driver's seat of my car. I'm all, what's up?
Yeah.
And my now wife gets bright red in the face, and she's like, I'm like, it's me from Platinum Motorsports. Like, we were here the other night. And she's like, I don't remember you. And I'm like, oh gosh. And it was like,
wait, but you never said hello to her when you.
I never really talked to her.
Never got
I
introduced.
stared at her for 4 hours. She didn't look at me.
Oh.
So she's looking at
me. He was able to stare for 4 hours because she wasn't looking at him. Like
I love her honesty though when she sees you and like, oh hey, she was like, nah, bro, I don't even know you.
And I'm like, oh my heart broke. And I'm like, you don't understand what God's trying to do here. Like, look, these are 1 in millions and millions of odds, right?
Yeah, serendipity.
To see someone and then someone else connects you. And I'm like, you have no, and I'm just like, okay. She's like, no, there might be some girl who looks like me in LA. And I'm like, no, like, I know it's you. But I'm just like trying to keep it cool. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll see you sometime. Like, tears like welling in my eyes. That's good. We'll see you sometime. We'll hang out, And so that just really crushed me, my confidence with her a little bit.
Damn.
And so I'd see her a little bit,
That was the end of the call?
Yeah, that was the end. We hung up, man. I was over it. I was like, oh, this.
Okay, what did you tell the girl? Like, dude.
I told her, I'm like, because I knew we were going to hang out, because this was another whole, church was the epicenter of this whole thing, by the way. That influencer girl I met, I'm bringing her to church. We went to Mosaic Hollywood, Erwin McManus Church, right? So I'm bringing her friends. All of a sudden, Samara starts coming, right? And so I'm like, I'm going to see her.
Yes, for sure.
And if this is supposed to happen, it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And by the way, like I said, she was traveling different countries and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't necessarily the greatest time for us to try to be together. And so it took 1.5 years almost for her to come back to LA again. Wow. And finally, for whatever reason, when she tells the story, she's like, I landed on the plane and I was thinking of like where you were at, because we had seen each other a few times since.
Okay.
And her friends would like when she would about to come back, she's like, Samara's coming back, and I'm like, good for her, I'm like all pissed.
Yeah.
Had a little resentment. Had a little resentment from that phone call.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't remember me?
Yeah. You know who I am.
Yeah.
I was the guy with the camera. Come on.
Yeah. And now she says she remembers, you were holding your camera and wearing your black denim jacket. There's a photo, and I'm like, she remembers now, I guess. But whatever. She came back. Finally, she's looking for me. And we meet at church the next Sunday, the day after. And I walk in, and I'm in my healing process.
Yeah.
In a much better place than I was the 1.5 years before. and I'm starting to like bring people to church. I'm not so self-focused
Right.
at that time. Still was, you know.
Yeah.
But like I'm kind of in a better place. And,
Yeah.
and I walk in and she goes, I hear Dom, and I look over and she's like smiling at me for the first time and like double waving, you know. And I'm like in turn, I'm like, this is your chance, you know. So I literally
Don't
looked
fuck
at
it
her.
up.
Where's the camera? I looked at her like this. I went,
Stop. No, you did not.
Yeah.
No, you
I
didn't.
totally like Jedi, you know,
Yeah.
Force just.
I've been waiting for you.
She like, yeah, floated over the chairs. No, she came over and I hugged her, and she says, that hug spoke 1,000 words.
Wow.
I go, whatever it took, girl.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whatever worked for you,
Yeah.
I was ready. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You were waiting.
You're like,
Yeah,
I was
I've
ready
been-
for you.
I've been
I've been
ready.
waiting
Yeah,
for
I was-
2
yeah.
years,
Yeah.
a year and a half,
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
years.
So the odds of us being brought together, again, some things you just can't.
No, God has
really
perfect
explain.
timing, and
Yeah,
it just
other
it
than-
aligns, and when it's right, it's right, and clearly it was meant to be because it just worked out.
Yeah, and so we talked.
And you were in a better place.
Yes,
like
much
all of
healthier.
the things, she was traveling and working. Like it wouldn't have, if you guys had gotten together then, it probably would not have worked because you were not as well off that you were in that year and a half, and then she was also running and gunning working.
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah.
so you waited and wait. So you guys from that moment at church were together?
That moment, we talked that night for like 6 hours.
Wow.
And we really poured our hearts out together because we were both tired
Yeah.
of the similar kind of lifestyle. I kind of joke like I had to let her get beat down a little bit more before she would consider me, you know?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I'm just these guys in LA. I'm like, yeah, totally. Yeah, you just need a good one, you know? Like, just let her get like get over some guys a little bit more. And then no, we talked for 6 till like 4 in the morning. And on the walk home, I was living with my friend Jose at the time, and I'm like, dude, I think finally something's happening. And like right when I said that, she texted me. She's like, we should go to lunch or get food sometime. And I'm like, oh, we're in there, bro.
Yeah.
And so we started dating really quickly. And then once we kind of like recollected on all that had happened, and people were like saying that during that time, like, hey, you should date this girl. You should. And they were pointing us to each other the whole time. And I was like, all right, let's see like if there's something here. So we were very quick to like check that out. And she was leaving LA. I was ready to leave LA. And thank God she trusted me to go to Idaho. She had no idea where that was. And so you asked what led me to that. Winter.
So you guys were just dating at the time when you moved?
We were dating at the time, and you know, this is where I teach youth too now. Like, hey, we didn't do everything right. You know, we didn't honor our relationship the way that God sets these things up. We're all, you know, living together and trying to move in together, and so we had a lot of drama and stuff before we really knew each other, and trying to act like we're married. And I knew I was gonna marry her. We had promise rings and all that, and so we used that as an excuse, like, oh, we're gonna get married.
Yeah.
Right. And so it took some time for us to work out the kinks, and we met some people out in Idaho once we were out there who literally did like marriage counseling with us, and that's a whole other God story too. I won't necessarily go into all of it, but once we got out there, it's like we had to be removed from that environment so that like he could operate on us, you know. And so together, for the first time in my life, by the way, I actually read the New Testament of the Bible, and we read it together. And so she went home to be with her family while I figured out things in Idaho, and we'd get on FaceTime and we would just read the Bible together. Like, wow, so sexy. It's like, yeah, it was the best thing we could have done. Like that actually, like more than the feelings, the chemistry,
Sure.
that like we built a spiritual foundation on the rock for our relationship through the Word of God. And then by the time I bought a house and we were getting engaged and married, like, you know, we were set to succeed at that point.
Yeah.
And so we got married shortly.
In Idaho?
Yeah, in Idaho at our home that we had just bought. And during the pandemics, we're like, we want to get married. We're going to wait for all these venues. Even Idaho was a little shut down at one point, surprisingly. But surprisingly,
I know.
dude.
Yeah.
The only place that didn't shut down was
Florida.
Snow,
Texas.
South Dakota.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. The girl.
Texas.
yeah.
Girl.
Florida shut down. Texas shut down.
When I went out there in 2021, it was already all open.
Yeah, no, they both. So Florida shut down for this long. Idaho probably shut down for that long. Did I say Florida? Texas, they all barely shut down.
Yeah.
But
for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then
Christy Noem's the only one. She takes pride in the fact that she never.
Oh, South Dakota.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
South Dakota. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So Idaho and
few months there. I mean, I was about a year there once we were married. Found the church we were at, and then it was like first night we went to this church, someone turned around and was like, "Hey, you should go to Life Bible College." I'm like, "Hold on, pal, just got here." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But dude, it was like, you know how God deals with you,
Sure.
like whether it's to make an amends to someone or to call someone or pray for someone. Like it was this like, like, are you gonna be obedient? And it's like, man, everything He's led me to do, I've been obedient to how He's led me, and going to Bible college was a huge one of those things that we did together, my wife and I.
Wow.
And yeah, that's when our life actually really, really transformed.
Wait, so are you in Bible college right now?
No, we started 2021. We graduated a 2-year program 2023, right? And then just graduated. I did a 3rd-year internship in youth ministry and global missions. That I just graduated from in April. And so I got to go to Africa in March and see the Bible come to life. And it was amazing. And now I'm wondering, we made the fentanyl film my first year. Like I just started Bible college. We were released Dead on Arrival.
You're gonna totally make films for church.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, so boom, we released this documentary. It's massively, successful in the sense of it's saving lives. It's still being shown, I think, every single day. It seems like I see a new showing or something happening. And so saving lives, and then I go through this Bible college, and it's like, all right, God, now, like, again, back to the question, why was in LA? You gave me this gift. You've set me before, like, influential people. Like, it wasn't just so I could be cool, Like, what is the reason why you've given me this? And so since Dead on Arrival, I've been kind of patiently waiting of like, okay, how do I use this to really save lives, to be a light in the darkness, and to glorify God, And so that's kind of the current prayer I'm praying now. Is like, how do we do this? And for now, if it's just saving people from fentanyl, I shouldn't say just saving.
No.
Well, praise God. If that's my one film that's out right now, it's still going and it's still saving lives today.
And it's fantastic. It's amazing. And not only that, since you are so heavy, and my husband is big in the church and with friends and things of that nature. So we've gone to really the big ones, and the packages that churches have film wise is incredible.
Yeah.
Like I can totally see you putting together amazing stuff within your church as well.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about the film since we're there. Let's go. Let's dive in. Let's dive deep into the film.
All right, let's start now.
Can we mark this, because this is actually where the podcast starts.
No, but it's so important.
I'm glad you got the
story
background.
Because
I hope
it is also too. I like the fact that you aren't an addict or an alcoholic for the younger kids and people that are listening, because it's not. This isn't just a recovery podcast. It's if you are experiencing and witnessing people wrecking their lives and misery, maybe just don't do it at all.
Yeah.
Don't pick up or use a substance, especially now, because obviously, fentanyl, like Chad was saying, it's like Russian roulette out there. Like it's not it's it's when, and that's what's scary.
Yeah. That conviction you mentioned earlier, you said you didn't ever want to end your life because you said you thought about how it would affect the people around you. That conviction to not commit suicide is the same conviction that we need to instill into people about using a drug, period, now, which is weird. It's like, it's almost like you say, Russian roulette. It might not be the first pill. I know a lot of people who it was, but it's that same conviction you have of, man, I wouldn't want to end my life, is the same attitude you need to have towards, I wouldn't want to take a pill, right? From the street, because that's probably going to be the result at some point. And that same conviction of man, what would it do to my family? What would my parents feel? I've been in a place where I didn't really care if I lived or not anymore. Right? You said you had too.
Absolutely.
But I definitely cared about how other people would feel. And I definitely cared about how it would affect the people that I was supposed to reach in life. Why am I here? Right? I believe I'm supposed to Most people have a desire. I think it's the greatest fulfillment. Really, one of the greatest fulfillments you can have is to serve and love other people.
Of course.
Why are we here? If we know we're going to heaven, like, what am I here for? You know what I mean? I'm here to love and serve people. So I knew I had that in me. So I didn't want to end my life because, I was supposed to reach people or make a film or, or whatever.
Yeah.
That same conviction is that we need to have about using drugs. It's like, and that's kind of what I had in the beginning. First film I ever made, I was 17, was called The Other Side. And we interviewed a bunch of kids who never decided to drink or use a drug because they had like a vision or a purpose for their life and they didn't want to mess that up.
Mm-hmm.
Now the message was like, hey, you might get addicted. You might become an addict or, kind of derail your path. Now it's just like, no, straight up, you might not wake up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And like that purpose and that thing you want to do, the people you want to influence, that family you want to have, that baby you want to hold, that might not happen. It very well won't happen if you even choose to start using, something. And so it's kind of the same message, just become a lot more urgent and a lot more strict.
And I feel like a lot more relevant because it's from what it was. What did Sheriff Barnes say? It started kind of trickling in 2013 is when he started noticing like the kind of the numbers, and then that's
when they had the first known deaths from fentanyl, but it was like 3,
right?
In a year, and now
it's actually
now it's 300 a day.
So that's over 100,000 Americans a year. Like, that's insane.
And those are I'm still quoting 2022 numbers. I don't know what the 2023 numbers are yet. I haven't seen them if they're out yet. But I know it's higher than that, because we can play with numbers. We all know that.
Yeah,
we played with numbers with COVID.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that bothers me the most, is that this is something that it has way more effect and a drastic. People are losing their life way more than COVID.
Especially young people.
And we shut the whole entire
young people.
Yes.
It's the number one cause of death for 18 to 45. That's a big range. That's CDC says it's the number one cause of death for people 18 to 45 years old.
Yeah.
And look what we did with COVID. We shut down our entire the world.
We shut down the world. We shut down the world basically.
And now we have something like this that's just spilling in and killing kids left and right.
I have a question for you. What is that? What is the response that should be happening when you kind of compare those two? So like COVID shut down the world. A lot of people were like, okay, this is not the solution to this. A lot of people thought it was. Fentanyl's here. It's, you could say it's just as prevalent as a virus, right? It's like everywhere.
Sure.
It's everywhere.
Do you shut down the world? What do you do?
Well, we kind of went over multiple things with like the sheriff when we had him on, because it's not just a one answer type deal. There's like multiple chain of events that have to happen, because it's coming from obviously China to Mexico and then coming in here. So like multiple things have to get in works to do something about it. It's just a matter of I like what you said, because it is very true. I feel like the reference in the sense of why I didn't take my life is because of my parents alone, right?
Wow.
But the thing is, with kids, it's like, it's not going to happen to me. That's like their mentality.
That's what they think.
And so it's like, how do we shift, especially when we're the ones talking about something like this? How do we shift that to get it into their heads of how easy and how quickly and how it's not the if, it's the when that they can consume? Because I feel like a lot of them think it's not going to happen to me because these pills look exactly like a Xanny bar or an Adderall or something that they think or a Percocet or something that they don't think is fentanyl,
Yeah.
So it's a very complex kind of question, because I don't think there's like a one stop answer.
I mean, it starts with a really strong person in power who makes a phone call to China, because you want to know how many deaths there were in China last year?
How many?
0.
Fentanyl?
0 fentanyl deaths in China. Obviously, those numbers can be skewed.
Yeah,
as
I know.
well.
I brought that argument up in a conversation, and they were like, "Well, How do you know that's factual?
We don't know
China
that that's
lies.
factual, but
Yeah.
they don't allow fentanyl in China.
What's the punishment for it?
Death.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't play
For even
around
having
either.
Yeah.
I can't say it wouldn't help. You know what I mean?
I'm not
that-
saying they had to be that strict, but
Yeah.
But here's the thing: like, if you can do a lot of things. A strong president who really gave a shit could call up China and say, "You keep sending those precursors over, we're gonna sanction the fuck out of you, and we're not gonna whatever it is, whatever those things are that they can do. I don't know what they are but there are things they can do. And then the next phone call would be to Mexico.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they also have telephone numbers to the heads of the cartels,
Of course, because they're
as
making
well.
money. Yes.
You know, I'm look, I don't want drugs on the street, but we were a hell of a lot better off when it was heroin versus fentanyl in a cute packaged little pill that you and I would take. When it comes to black tar heroin or any heroin, it's like, I don't know if I'm going to take that.
Of course.
You know.
Popping a pill is so much more easy.
But also then we need to get stricter. We have to get stricter on the laws in here, man. If you're selling
this is the
fentanyl,
big one.
that's attempted murder in my book. If you sell it and somebody dies, that is murder.
Yep.
You know, and then the state of California is really bad. It's like my son-in-law is dead. The state of California has done nothing.
Wow.
It's now in the hands of the DEA. And yesterday, my daughter, who found him, was I don't want to use the wrong word, but questioned by the DEA yesterday. She had to go to the DEA office yesterday, and they asked her questions, and some of them she was like, I was like, just be careful what you say to them. You know, like, yes, we want that, but also remember they're cops and they're investigating, so they might come at you hard.
Yeah, and they're
And if you feel like they're coming at you hard, tell them, hey, I'm not going to answer any more questions without a lawyer present.
Exactly.
Wow.
Period. But, at the
be
same time, it is hard, and this was the love of her life. Like, I'm the first man that she ever loved. I'm basically her mom and her dad, because her mom has been an addict her whole life and was never in her life. This was like her first love.
Yeah.
She had been with him since she was 15, I think.
Yeah.
15.
Wow.
And they were together a long time. He was like a son to me. They lived with me. Really good kid. Hard worker.
Yeah.
Would be up every day at 4 a.m. to go to his warehouse job. He became a manager. It's not like
Just starting life.
just
Yeah.
starting
Really.
life.
Just
Just
trying
to
to
figure it out.
Yeah.
Jinx.
Jinx.
Can I
But look
ask-
at that trickle effect in the essence of, because we were talking about mental health earlier, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like you have this young man die over fentanyl poisoning that he didn't know that it was fentanyl to begin with. And then now you have his parents that are besides themselves because it was their only son. You have his daughter who she has to live with that for the rest of your life. No matter what, you'll never forget a pain like that, especially walking in on someone that you love and they're literally gone. You will never get that out of your brain. So that will have a direct effect on her. If anything, I'm like, wow, she's doing, pretty damn good considering what I think I would go through,
Yeah.
And then you have her dad, his family, the kids that all, you know what I'm saying? The trickle is ginormous, where all of these other parents and all of these other spouses or significant others, what about them too? Because now they have to go on day to day in their daily life. So are they, how's their mental health? What
Right.
are they turning to? Are they going and getting just prescribed a Zoloft so that they can just be walking zombies? And it's like, I'm not saying like, obviously I am with you on the sense of some people need certain type of medications because everybody is different. Everyone's
seasons.
biological.
For a season or two to get
Sure.
from point A to
And
point B.
Exactly. And people need what they need. And that's why it's important to go and see your doctor and this, that, and the other. But I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough either. It's not just the child or the person, that individual that is getting poisoned and dying, it's like that directly affects a lot of people around that individual as well, which then trickles out into society.
I know a family who lost one of their kids same way, and then the other kid shortly after did the same thing, and I don't know if it was
on purpose.
And that's where we talk about mental health. It's like, man, like the way it hurts someone, people around you. I want to very humbly ask this question: do you know if he saw the film that I made, your son-in-law?
I don't know.
Because my hope is like, I wish he did if he didn't. Because I think we do a really good job in that film of explaining exactly what we're talking about, which is the pain that the parents carry. And then you can kind of, and they talk about siblings and things too. And we acknowledge, I mean, I verbally say in the film, the one issue we always have with our films is that people believe it just won't happen to them.
Yeah.
And the whole outro is like, I can guarantee you there's someone very similar to you who would want to look into the camera and look into your eyes and say, don't do it. Please don't do it. Right. And it's like, I try to nail that home as much as I can to where, like, because I believe if you can see yourself there, you can see your mom or your dad crying or your siblings, right? Then like you'll have that conviction.
Yeah. And you know, what's crazy though, is like now, you know, something beautiful came of his death, such as this podcast, which is, you know, growing like wildfire. And, you know, like half the people that are in my life currently today wouldn't have been in my life had this not happened. But I often feel his hand in everything that we're doing. Like I know that he knows now how bad it hurt, especially the love of his life. And that's why all of this shit is happening, so that eventually when we get through that storm and she gets through that storm, there's going to be something beautiful for her on the other side of the rainbow, you know? And I know that. I know that like every day, because like he pushes me to go outside of my comfort zone, such as this podcast. I'm very comfortable on the podcast now, but I was not 14 months ago when we started it. He has pushed me to publicly speak, which I would have never done had he not died. I wouldn't have. That wasn't something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Now it's all I want to do.
Wow.
Like, it's all I think about. We fucking study public speaking every single day of our lives now. Like, we're doing a book, right? Talk Like Ted. It's a really good book.
I have that book.
Oh yeah, that's great.
So we just get the book, and like, I was way ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
And then she comes in yesterday. I finished the book. I was like, damn it. I still have like a fourth left, I think.
You know, I agree with everything that he says. Like, I will always be grateful to Justin, because the tragedy brought me into this office and totally changed the whole entire trajectory of my life. And for that, you know, what you were saying, filling your cup, you know, I've done really cool things, but I've always chased until I walked into here, July 28th. And now I'm like,
we're chasing something different now.
And I feel also too, him starting this and becoming a voice, because he's a businessman. He's been in the business for 23 years, like, didn't need to do this. Obviously now there's a why, a reason, a purpose behind the messaging and how we do what we do. But what I think it also does too, and I could be totally wrong, but I feel it, is that it gives his daughter something to grasp and be proud of and look forward to, because just from the messages her and I have exchanged. And I think that's really special, because it also keeps his like legacy alive and well also. So it's like, it is kind of crazy seeing so much beautiful and so much pain and tragedy off of something that can be stopped, and not even there isn't a reason for the amount of fentanyl coming in, especially illicit and fraudulent.
It could be stopped. I mean, it could be. We have the best military in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it could be stopped. You know, that so like I don't know all the answers to how they could stop it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure if I if I happen to become the president of the United States, they would brief me on the things that we have that we could actually do, because like if I were running for president, it would be the only thing that I would be running on.
Yeah.
Because you've got to be a moron to not see that somebody, and you could call me a conspiracy theorist or not, but some country somewhere has read the book that one of the best ways to defeat a country is to take out their people that are of military age. And guess who's getting taken out? People of military age, 18 to 45-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
It's the number one cause of death is fentanyl. You start to destroy those, and those numbers are not going down. I mean,
No, they're going
they
up.
told the DEA, and this was like I was just like, whatever. Yeah, right. The DEA told my daughter yesterday. She goes, "We have seen a slight decrease in the number of deaths this year," and I'm like, "I haven't. I work in treatment,
Talk to Andrea. She hasn't.
And the problem is like you can skew those numbers if you
course.
want. And I don't believe anything that our government tells us until I stop seeing them die right next to me. Because, I own treatment centers.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever done. And I know the numbers. Like, it's scarier now. We're in a scarier time now to get people sober. Because if growing up in a 12-step community, the relapse rate is high.
Mm-hmm.
Now I get you sober. Like if you're addicted to fentanyl,
Yeah.
you're less likely to die. But if I get you sober for 30, 60,
relapse
90
is-
days, the relapse, you're done.
Yeah, you go do 10, 20 pills. Right?
And you're done.
Done. Yeah.
Like I don't
Yeah.
like to have to hand out Narcan because you're leaving treatment AMA.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Tell me how that makes sense. That's the solution to the problem.
Yeah. Well, it's not. And that's why, again, I always try to, my whole message is prevention, education, prevention, education, prevention,
Love it.
education. Like, let's,
Okay.
and everyone's like, oh, dream on. But it's like, yeah, I will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I
Go
do
on.
hope to see the young, like the generation that's being shown my film relentlessly right now. I believe we will see a switch in the numbers for those people who have seen it. Absolutely. Because I have heard testimonies of teachers of kids crying, walking back to their class saying, I will never take a drug. Crying to their friends, and it's like, okay, yeah, dream on, kids are going to experiment. No, if you drill it hard enough, just like it was to me, living proof, I heard over and over and over again, like, do not, right? And so, like with alcohol, right? So I never took a drink of alcohol. And I had every opportunity and every encouragement to, especially in college. Like the prevention education is the best hope that we have. Talk about, other than God himself, right?
Right.
It's like our best hope is to educate people, the young people, so that they have that conviction in their heart saying, no, I know what this can do to me. It's not worth it. Because, and this, as far as the supply thing, do you know how many pills they said they seized last year in 2023?
It was enough to kill the world.
Yeah, well, they said they
Twice.
seized 115 million pills in
Yeah, which is
America.
insane.
And that's how many they seize.
Yeah.
And I've talked to some of these guys who intercept cargo ships and take down the U-Haul trucks with the cartels, bringing stuff across state lines. And they say single digits is like the percent that's seized. So yeah, we're talking about what, 1 billion pills are in America now?
1 to 9% at best, probably somewhere closer to 1.
So last year seized was 115 million. Year before that, I think, was 75 million, and then it was like 20 something. So it's been
Yeah.
doubling,
Yeah.
tripling over the years. So the pills are here.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the beach yesterday. We have a 15-month-old, my wife and I, daughter, and we went to the beach yesterday. And we're at Aliso Beach, and the tide was high, and the waves were pretty big. And so we wanted to like go hold her and just put her feet in the water. She loves the water. So we're down there holding her, splashing her in the water. The lifeguard comes up, and they like kind of set us like, hey, would you guys stand back here? She explains how the current works and the tide, and how all of a sudden the wave could come in, and if we let her go, like how strong the current is, and could sweep her out. And I'm, the dad in you wants to go, yeah, right. Okay. You know what I mean? I've got her, like out of pride, right? But in reality, she came up and said some things to me that I didn't know before, like the risk, right? I'm just thinking we're going to the beach, playing in the water, and all of a sudden the water's going to take my baby out to shore or to the sea. You can kind of see the analogy I'm getting at here. That's what the prevention education is. I want to be the lifeguard to your kid that you're holding in the water, and he thinks he's just playing at the beach, playing around with pills, playing with drugs. And I'm saying that water could sweep him out to shore quicker than you know. And you need to tell him about it and make sure he doesn't get too close and doesn't end up with ordering one of these pills, because it could take him and sweep him out like that. And then you're laying in your bed going, gosh, I just had no idea.
Totally.
How did this happen? Right? And that's every one of these parents I've heard, their stories. It's just like, we had no idea. We had no clue. And all of a sudden, there he is. He's gone. Or there she is. She's gone.
Yeah.
And just like the water or the waves, it's like, man, I feel like, and I believe, could we do stuff to stop more? Yes, absolutely. Coming across borders and stuff like that. But 115 million pills seized in America here last year. I'm sorry, but trying to get fentanyl to not be in America is like trying to get the waves not to crash on the beach. It's here. It's here. It's online. It's on their phones. They can order it. We could order one right now.
Which is wild. And
so what am I going to do? I can't stop the waves. I want to with all my love and might as a parent, as a man of God, as someone who loves people. I want to stop this ocean of fentanyl from crashing on the shore of these kids' lives. But the best thing I can do is teach them how to play in the water, and how to make educated decisions, and how to stay away from the current that's going to try to suck them in. And by the way, fentanyl is just one of the ways the devil is trying to kill our young people.
Yeah.
Or people are trying to kill young people. So it's if it's not going to be that, there's going to be some other stupid drug that comes, like we've seen over the years.
And that's kind of where it's like really important too. Is like, obviously we're really big on trying to raise any type of education and awareness on fentanyl, and then also breaking the stigma where the younger generation, like, that lifestyle is like, it's cool to be sober. Like, it is.
Yeah.
Not to do anything, and to not feel like you have to do something, or it's gonna all of a sudden make everything amazing and great and all of these things, where the option of you're not gonna be this like boring person. I don't think I'm a boring person.
Yeah, but it's cool to be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? You want to feel that comfort, and when you're younger, it's life is tough. I mean, I love, you know what I mean? I love what he's saying. We got to educate them. I bribe my kids.
Yeah, you bribed them with 10 grand.
10 grand each, not to drink or smoke.
I just want to tell his kids that make sure
they could have got
it's
20
cash.
Yeah.
not a check.
Totally.
Not a check. That's all
you want it cash.
That's
cash.
what I did, because I wanted to give them time to understand, to learn, to grow, to have their brains be able to understand and comprehend that just one poor decision could be the end of your life.
Yeah.
And I don't think that maybe at 13 or 14 or 15, a lot of kids can grasp that thought of.
You definitely can't grasp
terminal
that at that age.
You can't.
What? Oh,
that you're gonna die.
That you're gonna die from taking
tough.
one pill, or even smoking a little bit of weed off the street.
Sure, I did. Yeah.
That you could die from that today.
I think probably though, and I don't know, I can't really speak on it because I don't have children, so I don't know how hard it would be. And I grew up in a very traditional household, so those conversations weren't really like had. And so in the sense of like drugs and things, I feel like maybe having more so open dialogues of like, how you're told as a kid, never take candy from a stranger. It's like kind of having that conversation where at least what it does is that it does something to your subconscious where like, at least you've heard this before, where like you're a little bit more aware, not saying that it's going to be perfect, but like kids know not to take candy from a stranger, right? So it's like if you have these open conversations, then hopefully they're able to make a wiser decision when they're so young, because you're right, your brain's not even fully developed until you're 26 years old. So it's like there's a lot going on, but I think the only thing that we can possibly do is what we're doing right now, and being a voice and doing what you're doing, and putting together beautiful films that are filled with such tragedy and realness, that it's like, no, fentanyl does not discriminate. It's coming and knocking at your door. And if you think your child is not going to do it or whatnot, then you're living in a fantasy land, because kids are kids, and then they go to college, and then there's recreational use and all of these other things and elements. And so like if they're not hearing about these types of things, then they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, on that note, I need you to plug your film really good right now, because
I know we'll link it too.
Gotta end the podcast because I saw a doctor out there.
Yeah, I could go on for another
I could.
hour.
Me too.
So could
You're
I.
great.
I really could
Like, good
too.
for
I'd
you.
love to come back.
When you're
Good
back,
for
yeah,
you.
we want to
Yeah.
have you back, because he's a
great.
leader. He's
Well,
a true youth leader, like any leader. I would listen. I would.
Yeah. Well, next time you're back in town,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
let us know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you got Catherine. She's got our schedule.
Yeah.
So just schedule with her for another podcast.
And you know what, before we end, actually, though, what I wanted to make a point about yourself that I really liked. I mean, we have a reference in the program where it's like, we always like kind of make fun of it, where it's like, keep coming back. But you didn't give up on yourself, because even though you make kind of a joke about it, about like, yeah, a strip club in the same week that I went to church. Yeah, but you were still searching.
you kept
You were
going.
still seeking. You did not give up on what you were trying to accomplish. And ultimately, that's peace of mind, fulfillment, and that's really, I think, the ultimate thing that everybody is really searching for.
Yeah.
And so I think that's amazing, because a lot of people kind of give up too early, because it takes a long time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It takes a while, and to hang in there, and life is hard, and shit's not going to go the way that you want it to go. So I just wanted to make that point, because you
Thank
stayed
you.
in it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And God's never given up on me.
Right.
And he'll never give up on you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like when I found like the endless love that was there for me, despite all the ways I messed up,
Totally.
despite how I ran from him. It was like a prodigal son moment. I ran back, and my father ran to me and hugged me and threw a party. It was like, you still love me.
Mm-hmm. No matter what.
And that's what so many people need, is like, man, next time we'll talk and we'll get to like the root of like, why do people make these decisions and reach out for a pill in the first place? Man, people are missing the love that God has for them. They're missing the freedom that I believe is found in Jesus Christ. You said it's great to be comfortable. It totally is. Man, when I was comfortable in my own skin in middle school, and I knew I wasn't going to drink and this, I didn't really care what people thought about me. Man, I had so much more peace. Started thinking about everyone's opinions and comparisons, and then my life got, I got so anxious. And I found freedom in Jesus Christ. And I found peace in God. And I found love in God, right? And I was able to just breathe again. And I didn't need anything to help me muster, myself emotionally through this life, which is tough, like you said.
Sure.
And so I thank God for that healing and that freedom that I have. And now I thank God for the purpose that I'm able to live here for. And that's to be a light in the dark, whether it's against fentanyl or whatever it is that the enemy's trying to use to take out people's lives and keep people slaved and in chains and hidden from the life that God has for them. Man, I'm here to expose all that stuff. And I'm coming for them with all the gifts that God gave me. I'm not in a rush to do it necessarily like I used to be, because I can't do it on my own strength. Man, you try to go up against this fentanyl and mental health and stuff on your own, it's like, no way. So I'm just trusting that he'll show me a vision for whatever that next project is. And in the meantime, Dead on Arrival is the one to watch.
Yeah, Dead on Arrival.
There's that plug.
Yeah.
That's
Man, share that film.
Yes.
You paid your kids $10,000 each. I would have been so hyped. I would have for sure taken you up on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have him watch.
Or-
it.
Right? Some parents are like, man, how would I do that? They might get discouraged. It's like, man, Dead on Arrival is free.
Yeah.
Church groups are free. Like, I can tell you firsthand, that is what kept me from crossing that line where it was too far, and I was close many times. But I knew who God was. I knew I had a purpose, and my mom was not afraid to have those conversations with me.
Right.
I'd come home from hanging out with my friends. She'd go, "Let me smell your breath."
Smart.
And I
But
go,
that's a 12. That's a
She's
12
like,
step.
"You been drinking?" Like,
Yeah.
no. Right? And she told me about these things, right? And so I encourage you, please, the
Yeah.
film's free. Everything I make, I tell you right now, will always be free. We will never charge anyone to access any film, book, anything
And
I write.
for your film, they can go on YouTube and search, plug your.
Yes,
YouTube
it's just
and-
if you type Dead on Arrival, it's there now. My name's Dominic Tierno. Christine Wood is the woman who made Dead on Arrival with me. She produced the film. She gave me my first opportunity to make a drug documentary when I was 17,
Wow.
just graduating high school. And so I'm very thankful for her. I always want to give her
Yeah,
a
of course.
spotlight as well. And she's local. She was a mom here who just wanted to help kids. So I don't know if that's for anybody, but like she was not a filmmaker. She
Yeah.
wasn't a film producer. She just, like you guys, I'm not a public speaker. I don't want to do this. Yeah, but God told you to.
Yeah.
And he led you
Yep.
to. And so you're
Yep.
stepping up and doing it, and he's given you the grace to do it. Same thing with her and with me and with all of us fighting this fight, man. So
Awesome, man.
cool.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Emily.
We do two.